Tonight with the first Capitol attack hearing, unveiling previously unseen evidence from January 6, 2021. Emotional testimony heard from a Capitol police officer along with violent video showing all vantage points of the attack.
So as we mentioned, this is the first of several hearings, and tonight it aired across several networks on prime time. The goal to reach as many Americans as possible. Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney, one of two in her party on the Select Committee, called out some of her colleagues for continuing to defend former President Donald Trump.
There will come a day when Donald Trump is gone, but your dishonor will remain.
Now, during Cheney's presentation, we saw a montage of different moments of this attack. And as you can see here, some of these images are graphic. Many were new to us, showing rioters kicking and trampling police officers. And one of those officers, Caroline Edwards, says she was knocked out and later tear gassed. She says in her time in law enforcement, she never expected to experience such chaos.
What I saw was just a war scene. It was something like I had seen out of the movies. I couldn't believe my eyes. There were officers on the ground.
So let's talk about some of what was discussed. Joining us live is Michael Bitzer, professor of politics and history at Catawba College. Dr. Bitzer, thank you for joining us. First, more than a year has passed. We have different issues going on in the country right now. Do you think the committee's 2-hour hearing tonight did enough to get Americans interested again in the attack on the Capitol?
I think it certainly laid out the dynamic that the committee has been pursuing, and that is the focus and the center point on the former President Donald Trump. I think what they are seeking to do is to ensure that the American people who watch tonight and will watch over the next several days and weeks of committee hearings show the accountability that ultimately they believe the president had towards the insurrection and the attempted coup, as they described it, against our sitting government.
And after the opening statements, the committee played about a 15-minute edited video of that attack. And to put it lightly, the images were disturbing. The language was graphic. What do you think the strategy was in playing that video tonight?
I think we have to refresh our memories. We have very short attention spans, particularly in American politics. We are deluged constantly. Every 24-hour news cycle is a new issue, a new concern, a new shooting. Something is happening that grabs our attention and moves it from the previous. I think what they were trying to do was to remember and to remind folks of the almost pit in your stomach anger and disgust of what was happening that day, to then make the connections that they will show throughout the next set of hearings.
And we also got a chance to hear from some of the former president's close family members, his daughter, his son-in-law. We heard from the former attorney general. We also heard from witnesses who testified tonight, the Capitol police officer and documentary filmmaker. Were they compelling enough?
I think so. Their testimony was fairly short. It was fairly sweet, but what they were doing was setting up the timeline. And I think that this is critical for the committee to be able to show to the American public, particularly those folks that are paying attention to this kind of activity, what transpired and when it did and what role did all the people play, but most importantly, the person at the center of this focus, the man who they believe needs to be held accountable, Donald Trump.
It'll be very interesting to listen to and see how this moves forward. Dr. Michael Bitzer, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time this evening.